What up, everybody? What up, guys? I am Lou, and today, guys, this is going to be part 2 of a previous video that I made, which is the Python text search. So pretty much, the first video we worked on building the script. A script that takes 2 arguments. Takes a folder pass, then it takes a value that you're looking for. And what it will do, it will literally search through all the files in the folder and try to find that key text value. And it does this by scanning through Excel files, through all the sheets, and it also scans through all the text files. It could be XML, JSON, doesn't matter, right? As long as it's text file, it'll scan it and it'll print out the file name, line number, and of course the full row of data that relates to it. So what we're going to do in this video, part 2, we're going to put a face to it. We're going to use Flask. We're going to build a UI, and then we're going to compile the app to an executable file that ultimately you could just run locally on your PC. So that's kind of what we're going to do here in part 2. Hey guys, before we get started, give me a like, give me a follow. Appreciate it, man. All of y'all been showing a lot of support. I really do appreciate it, guys. So let's get started, guys. So again, this is part of the original part 1. So review part 1 if you want to kind of review what this actually does and how it works. Now what we are going to do in this case, we're going to modify the source code a little bit. As you can tell, we take in 2 arguments here. Well, we don't need those 2 arguments in this case because we're going to be importing in this file into our main code base, which is going to be our Flask application. And then ultimately, we're going to be calling this class to utilize it. So again, there will be some changes that we would have to do. So let's kind of walk through some of those changes real quick. So for one, we don't need arguments. Those are going to go away. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Let's see. So this will go away as well. We don't need this. So let's go ahead and remove that. See what other changes are needed here to remove. So we have root directory, file value, that's fine. That looks fine, that looks fine. So I think everything's fine. I believe that's it, man. I mean, I'm just trying to double check to make sure there's nothing that may be missing, but I think that's it, guys. I think that is it. Okay, yep, I think that is it. That should be everything. So that's all we have to do. Just kind of remove the arguments, delete the if statement that we have at the bottom, and we're good to go, man. Now we could call this. Let me delete this. We don't need this either. All right, cool. So now the next thing that I'm gonna have to do here is I'm gonna create a new file. This new file, I'm gonna call it app.py, right? So inside this app.py file, there's a few things we need to do. So before we do that, let me make sure that I'm activated. I believe I am. Okay, so let me do pip freeze damn it requirement.txt file. I want to take a look at this real quick. So we have our 2. This is our Excel binary not found. All right, so that's all. That makes sense. So what I need to install is going to be pip install flask. So that would be the let's get that installed. Alright, so now we got a few other files. Trying to make sure we're not missing the other files. So that's actually good for now. There is one more that we're going to need to install, but we'll do that towards the end. And it's going to be py installer. So for right now, though, we're good. So I could remove that. So again, now let's focus on our app.py file. So this is going to be our Flask file, where ultimately, again, if you're not familiar with Flask, well, what we're doing here, we're building a UI, but it's going to be a web-based UI. And I'm using the Flask framework for it. So it's very light, and for what we're trying to do, it will work very well. So again, I'm not going to go extremely detailed into Flask. This is more related to the project. This is kind of assuming that you at least understand Flask. If you don't, let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video kind of going more detail of how to set up project in Flask and things of that nature, if that's the case. But there's a lot of videos out there as well. So, but either way, just let me know. So we're going to go ahead and import in a few things, right? So we're going to import in Flask, import render template, and requests. Okay. Let's see, what else do we import in? Flask and abort. That should be fine. Let's bring in import OS. What else? Oh yeah, we need to import in our, oh yeah. So here's one change we need to do. See how I have text hyphen finder? We're gonna change this name. Let's redo the name because it's actually called the issues. And I'm gonna call this text underscore finder. Alright, so end up changing that name to text underscore finder, import text finder. Alright, cool. So now that I have that, let's go ahead and get our app initiated. So it will be calling the Flask name. That's it. So that's kind of like the starting point of getting the app initiated. Once we do that, let's go ahead and create a function. Pretty much it's going to be a routing. We're routing based on the URL. You know, as you go to the specific URL, it will route you to this function, and of course the function will do whatever it is you want it to do. So let's go ahead and call this find text. But also we need to add a routing. So see how we created this @ variable out here up here in the beginning, which is our initiation of Flask. So now in order to add a routing, you got to do @ then the name of that variable. So let's say this variable was called app I don't know, app object, right? Something like that. This would be add object as well. So again, it's all depends on whatever the name is. Just kind of keep that in mind. So it'll be app routing. Then in this case, I'm only doing / because I want it to be the full URL. But let's say you have if you have different URL paths, this is where it could be the domain, the port, / I don't know, you call like new window, right? Or maybe you have a module for like people, so you call it, or customers, better yet, customers. Then of course the URL, just like the way you accessing the URL, it will be like the domain, port, / customers, and it'll take you to the customer page. But because this app only has one functionality, one window, so as long as you go to like the home page, right, think of it that way, it'll take you to the app. So we're gonna just do / and that's it. Next thing we'll do methods. Now this is gonna be a list. method of the list, and we ultimately going to be using both two methods, which is the get method and the post method, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. That's what we're doing here. Once we got that in place, now let's go ahead and add the logic for post method and the logic for get. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do if request method equals post. Again, if it happens to be a post request, then ultimately do this logic, right? Do this logic. And then of course there will be an else, and the else by default is logic for get. Right, so anything below here will be pretty much the get logic. I could specify if I wanted to put if else request method equals get, do X, but the way I'm doing it is it's either post or get, because those are the only two methods I allowed. Since I identify post up front, the else by default will be get. So and let's go ahead and do the get real quick. So the get, which is going to be very simple, I'm going to create a data object that's going to be blank, and then I'm going to return a render HTML page. So I want to render a specific page. So one thing that I have not done yet, I just realized right now, is I have not created my HTML page. Right, so I'm going to call my HTML page index.html. So let's go ahead and get that set up. Now, just like, again, if you're familiar with Django and Flask, a lot of these frameworks kind of are already pre-configured. They're looking for a folder. In this case, a folder they're looking for is going to be templates. So I'm going to go create a folder called templates. Then inside this folder, I'm going to create a file called index.html. All right, so that's kind of what I'm doing. Now, what I'm going to do here is I already have some HTML code. Again, it's all for the UI set up. So we'll go through it. But again, it's very straightforward. I'm using Bootstrap, as you could tell up here. I'm bringing in Bootstrap from a CDN. So for this project, that's the way I did it. If you're doing something, you know, you got your own CSS files or whatever, then by all means you could have that on a static folder and have your files in there. But nevertheless, to keep it simple, I'm using Bootstrap for my UI. Just nice, clean, straightforward. There is some Python logic in here, so we'll walk through that in a minute once I do generate the HTML, so you kind of take a look at it. Like once I run the app and you see the HTML. But overall, it's all, I mean, it's all HTML with a little bit of logic of, you know, iterations logic, and then of course some if else logic when it comes to displaying the alerts. Everything else is just very hard coded text, right? So let me go back. So again, remember templates folder index.html, which is what I did. Since I have this data, the reason why I'm passing this in because I do have in my HTML template this data object that it's looking for. So that, and for that reason, that's why even though it's blank, but I'm incorporated into my rendering HTML file. That's why I have it in here. Okay. Let's see what else. So this is it when it comes to the get, right? So if I were to let's do this real quick, right? Let me do pass. Oh yeah, you know what? So I'm gonna go run it just as a test. You can see. But at the end of the very bottom of your app, go ahead and here we got to bring in the kind of like the way we did in our other file, our if name equals main, because ultimately when it runs, that's what it's looking for, the main, and if it matches, that happens to be the name, it'll run. So that's kind of the whole purpose of that. So again, app because that's what it's called up here, app. If this is called something different, name it the same down here. Run, and in my case, specify a port. I'm gonna call my port 8802. I'm gonna hit debug equals true, because if there's any errors, I want to see it. If it's something where everything's nice and clean, there's no issues, you could put debug equals false, but I'm going to leave it as true for now. So now if I want to run this, it's literally will be as simple as Python app. Ooh, what happened here? Why is this up here? What the hell? That's odd. I did not put that in there. That's interesting. Okay, either way. Alright, see how it ran? So now I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So this is odd. There should be an image here, which is not. But everything else, you could tell it's straightforward. You have a text field for text, enter text to search. Then you have enter full directory. Now, because the browser does not allow you to actually access, like you could upload a file, for example, but it doesn't allow you to access your actual directory system from a sense of to iterate over a folder and things of that nature. Like when you're trying to use some of the functionality to like pick a file and things of that nature. The way this is going to have to work, you got to actually specify the full pass. And we'll walk through that in a minute, right? So, but because there's no logic right now, if I hit submit, it's not going to do nothing. This is odd. The image is missing. And this is part of this index. And where is that image coming from? There it goes right here. So what happened here? The image no longer good, I guess. There we go. That is strange. So why does it exist here? But when I ran it over here, it did not. There we go. See, that's strange. Doesn't make no damn sense. Yeah, I don't know, man. That was weird. Either way, everything looks very basic, straightforward. We have again, just like the way our script was, you have two arguments, a file and a directory. Same thing, two arguments, the file we're trying to search and a directory. So that's kind of what we have here. Alright, so now let's go back to our app. Now we're going to add logic for the posts. Because again, when we post it, we want to do its thing, right? Do its work. So now let's go ahead and add that logic in here. So the first thing we're going to do is directory pass generate a variable, which is going to be based off the request form. Called directory. So when you see the request form, the form literally means that, the form. So just like if I come over here to my HTML, I have a form, as you could tell, right? I have two inputs, one input and here's another input. The name of this input is called directory. The name of this input is called text value. So those are going to be my form names. In order to pull the value out of the form names, I'm going to call the request object dot form, and then I'm going to specify the key value of the name of that input. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, right? It's very standard for like to pull in that manner. Doesn't matter what language you're using, but if you're not familiar with it and you're new, at least hopefully that kind of explains a little bit on how that works. The next one will be text value, request form, and it will be text value. Because again, text value with a capital V, that's how it looks over here, right? Text value. So just kind of keep that in mind. And again, it's not the ID, but it's the name. So what I'm going to do in the first section, I'm going to do something called return 404 if pass doesn't exist. If not, os pass dot exists, and in this case it will be my directory pass. Then it would be return abort 404. Okay, so again, if it's not a valid directory pass, return an error. That's what it's doing. Okay, so next we're gonna do a or we're gonna have to bring in our class, our text finder class. So what I'm gonna do here is text finder. My root directory would be directory pass. Then of course my text value would be text value. And I'm gonna assign this to a search object. That's the name of my object. I'm calling it search. Probably should call it search object. Alright. So once I do that, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna execute it. To do that, I'm gonna call search object underscore execute. Because again, that's how it's broken down. We have a class. In order to actually get things to execute, we need to call the execute function, and then this will do its magic, right? It would check if it's Excel, if it's a binary. If it's not binary, start the search text process. Pretty much what we're doing here. And then we're gonna do, let's see, we want to know whether anything even found, right? Did it find anything? So this is where I'm gonna call it text found. Let's call this is text found. Okay, so this would be search object dot is value found. We have a function in here called is value found, and it will return this is found value, which by default is no, but it changes to yes if there is a match. Okay, so once I do that, now I'm gonna have an if statement. If is text found equals yes, then we want the result list. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a variable called results count, and then I'm gonna call my search object dot get result list. But search count, we're doing a links, right? So I want to count how many rows we have in there to kind of tell me, well, with the search count, give me my total. All right, so that's number one. Once I do that, then I'm gonna create a data object, because this is what I'm gonna be passing back to my HTML. And the first key value is gonna be called results, and this would be search object get results list, which is my list object. My second one is alert, and this would be success. And then my third would be results count, which, you know what, we could just do this. I don't need to do this. I just do this right here. Comment that out. And then I'm going to do a return render template. Again, same template as the one from below, index HTML, and then it's going to be data equals data, right? So pretty straightforward. Now, see how I have an if statement? So of course I'm going to have an else, and the else is going to have a data object as well for alerts, which in this case is going to be danger. And again, we're gonna render this template, right? So this template would be index.html data. All right. Let me see, and I think that's it. Okay, I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. So let me go ahead and rerun the app. Cool. So you know what? Let me do something real quick. What I need to do is let me put some files together, right? And I'm going to put this. I put it in my YouTube folder. I'm going to call. Let me call this folder. Text files. Storage. Right. Let's take a look at it. So this is a folder that I put together, right? And this is a folder that we're going to run the process on and just kind of scan through. So let's find a value, right? Let's find a value. So let's look at my blob. Test. Okay, we could do that. Let's look for the word test and see if it finds it. I don't need to copy that. Let me just copy the, again, directory path. I am going to copy. So let me refresh. So remember, for directory path, I'm going to copy it in there. And then the value I'm going to search for will be text. I hit submit. Boom, 7 matches found. And of course, you could tell it has it listed down here. So we take a look at this. What does this represent? We have, let's make it a little bit bigger. We have the file name, which is SharePoint etl.py. It's on line 8. The row value, so the full value in that row is from, pretty much the package, and then of course here's text, right? This is the keyword. So again, if I look at it, text is in here, text. Is that what I typed in, or did I type in test? You know what? Maybe I typed in the wrong value. Yep, I did. It's supposed to be test. Either way, text worked fine. I mean, you can tell it found it. So that's good. It worked fine. But as you can see, it tells you the file name, the row. As you can tell, this found many times. Row 8, 10, 12, 23, 24, 28, 39. And then it tells you the full information in that row. I think this is cool. When you're looking for stuff, this makes it very quick and easy to provide what you're looking for. Boom, it'll give you back results. Now let's look for test. There you go. Look at three hits. And same thing. If we were to do test, there you go. Test, and test. It's a wildcard look. So again, we are able to find everything in here. And so this becomes a very cool tool. And looking for everything. Excel as well. So let's test out Excel. Like, does it really find Excel? And I believe this is my Excel file here. Even though it says CSV in the file, it's really an Excel file. So let's find something like, let's see, what can we find? Maybe it's a little bit unique. Let's look for Canon. There it goes, Canon, right? Let's see if it could find. I mean, it should be able to find it. See how it's an Excel file? So just kind of FYI, it is Excel. So let's look for Canon. Same folder, right? Just provide the directory path. Hit submit. Damn, I found it a few times. So now this is a good example. See, it found it in different files. It found it in the CSV file, and it found it in the Excel file. Again, same concept. Now the difference in the Excel file, just kind of notate, we're providing one additional piece of information that we weren't doing in the other ones. In this case, we're providing the worksheet name, which the worksheet name is called the same name of the file, or almost the same name of the file, right? Well, I guess it is the same name of the file, but it could be something else. It could be sheet 1. It could be whatever else. And again, to confirm this, let's open up the sheet, and there you go, right? Here's the name. I could change this. Let's call it master list, right? Let me hit save, close out of it. So now if I rerun this again, it will show master list. So it tells you at least what sheet is coming from. Then of course tell you the row, and then also tell you the cell value. Instead of being the row value, it will tell you the cell value, which would be this guy. So you kind of see the information. Again, I had a use case for this, so I built a script. This is some years back. What I did here, I kind of redid the script better, right? Because it wasn't it worked the way I had it before, but obviously it's better designed today, in my mind, anyways. Because again, we get better with time. I feel like along with your active coding, active developing, you will get better. We built this in the form of UI, which is what we did here. And so hopefully this helps out, guys, and it makes it an easy way. Now, you could tell we're running this locally by running it through the terminal. In the next video, we're going to compile this using py installer and actually make it a desktop app. And the way that would work is it will be an exe file, and when you double click on the app, it's actually going to start the terminal and start the web service for you, like start the service, and then you would just go to your URL to be able to access the app and do exactly what I did locally. But at least that'll give you ability to package it up if needed to be, and then of course send it out to other colleagues or other non-technical people, and they don't need to have it Python installed. All they need to do is just double click on the exe service run. They could access the app. So that will be in the next video to come. Again, guys, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this provides some kind of either insight, again, to Flask, Python, or how we're putting things together. Maybe you have a use case to use this tool. I did, which is why I'm making this video. Maybe you do too as well. Again, guys, give me a like, give me a follow. Appreciate everything, guys. Peace.